This is Moshe coming to you from Israel on the 12th of June, Wednesday, 9:28 in the morning. Hot day today. It's 80 now, and we're going to hit, I think, 97, 96. That's not nice. Tomorrow, worse, 105. Friday, 105. Saturday 104, Sunday 100, and then it starts dropping back next week. But this, let me tell you, if I could teach you anything, well, let me just say this. It is so dangerous to live in a country where they don't follow God, they don't follow the law, and they rebel against them, especially if it happens to be Israel. And this is what you get. A few minutes ago, just maybe the missile attack, we had a very substantial missile attack from Hezbollah. I was hearing the booms, and they were not far away. The booms could be the takedown from Iron Dome, and they could be the missiles exploding. It's hard to tell. And it went on for a long time. And I didn't know what I wanted to really do for a broadcast today. I had one theme, which I'm going to pick up, is why God is, doing the continuing whirlwind of the Lord, falling on the head of the wicked until it accomplishes its purpose, and why he's so angry, has a controversy with the nations over Zion, and why he's going to deal with the heathens like they never heard. I was going to do that, but it was kind of like a small thing. And then I realized after I went through this missile attack, my wife was pretty animated about it. She was outside watching the explosions and the booms and stuff. And I said, I don't know if there was any damage, and I don't know what happened yet, but it was a very large barrage of missiles. They do that to overwhelm the Iron Dome. Now, they also try to attack our Iron Dome installations, but these things are highly portable. They're, you pull them by a truck, they got a generator, a little booth for the operator, the missile launch pod, and stuff like that. So, you could easily every day move it, 500 yards, and it's going to be, a whole different targeting scenario, And I'm trying to see what the message came in is. So it's, it's not a hard thing to move it in. If you move it 500 yards, that's like, what, a fourth of a mile. The missile's got to be retargeted, and most of their missiles don't target well. And you can keep moving them every day, every 8 hours or whatever. I don't know what they do, but see, the Iron Dome was developed many years ago to stop the stupid Katyusha rockets, and now they've got more sophisticated rockets. So some of them do get through. And Hezbollah is trying to probe deeper into Israel. And the attacks are incessant all day and night, and they don't stop. And, Netanyahu's in a position like Putin. He has to do something. But he's such an evil, wicked, horrible excuse for a human being that, there's no telling what he'll do. To call Netanyahu a narcissist is a super underestimation. I would say he's definitely mentally ill. For some of you know reasons that other people won't believe, but I'd say he's definitely mentally ill. And he doesn't care about Israel, he cares about himself. So I'm going to explain to you that after the attack, what I believe the Lord showed me is we're entering into the phase of the birth pangs where the Israelites start to become fearful. okay? There is no peace treaty with Gaza developing, and I'll cover that with you. So let me go into the chat and put a couple of posts up real quick, and then we'll get started, okay? I don't think that we might be in the phase. I think we are in this phase. I don't see the point in talking about what my life was like when I was young. Why would I want to talk about that right now? I don't. Okay, I'm gonna do a post up here quickly. Almost finished. Giving people a chance to come in. Now we're hearing jets. There's going to be retaliation against the Hamas characters. Okay, I'm just about done. I think I'm done. Okay. Being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to go do some praise for a moment. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so we'll talk about Hamas, the UN Security Council, and what's going on. This is going to be a lot of current event intel information that you're probably not going to hear from somebody that's not been living in Israel a long time. This is far from my first war. I've been through a bunch. And you're not going to, people that get it, that don't live in Israel, that get it from Israel sources, they don't really understand it. They couldn't possibly. They get some of it, but they really don't understand it. Okay, they don't understand what's going on inside Israel, what the people think and believe, and they won't get it fully. Now, Macron, the French president, has a vested interest in Lebanon, the country. And what I believe is he went to Biden and said, you got to stop Israel from attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon because they're going to demolish Lebanon, and we've got a massive investment there. So then Biden turns to Macron and says, fine, move against Russia more, authorize your weapons that Ukraine can use them inside Russia, give them some jets and stuff like that. So Macron's he's on board with that. And what happens to Macron? He's a left-wing jerk, and the country France and the whole EU went right, the whole European Union went right-wing. So Macron's holding what's called snap elections now in France. So he's lost a tremendous amount of his power. I don't see that as a coincidence. I think I'm pretty right about that. So Biden's position on Israel is this. I'm going to talk very boldly and openly. They're just a bunch of Jews. Let them take 50, 70 rockets a day. Who cares? That's why he tells Netanyahu, who's, I call him Schmuck and Yahoo, to curse on Israel. He tolerates it because Biden tells him to. And he's not walking with the God of Israel, he's walking with the enemy, as is all of his cabinet and all the rest of them. So they put up with it. Satan has his elect. And you know who his elect are? The Muslims. Because they're ready and willing to get the Israelis out of the land and kill the Jews and the Israelis. They're also ready to kill the Americans, which happens when you read Revelation 17 with the beast. So he's all in on the Muslims. He's all against Israel and the Jews. He's finished with America because they blew it with Israel. And they blew it with the churches. Because the church people are coming out of the church and they're becoming real believers. And then there's the Messianics in America and all this stuff. So Satan had it with the daughter of Babylon and the whore of Babylon, which is Columbia, which is America's, the motion picture icon. It's the Statue of Liberty. It's the woman on the statue on top of the Capitol building, and it's the same thing that the British have. Some flat-chested woman. And her name is Columbia, and the United States is run by the District of Columbia. So they named the Washington, D.C. after this jackass thing. Okay? Washington, D.C. is not in any of the 50 states. It's administered by Congress. It's something all unto itself. Okay? Now, so Hamas, this is what Hamas said. First they said, oh, we are really positive, using various words for positive about this, United Nations Security Council peace treaty that Biden submitted to them and took a vote and it passed. And then it turns into more like, well, we're going to negotiate on this. Okay? So they didn't accept it. And their negotiations, I can tell you what their guidelines are because they're talking about it. Okay? They want Israel to agree to a full permanent ceasefire, which is quite odd for a bunch of deluged psychiatric patients that are trying to make out they're winning the war. Gaza is a rubbish heap. My estimate, the low estimate, is 80% of the buildings are damaged and destroyed. I think by now it's 90%. 85 anyway. Sidewalks are gone, the roads are gone, the traffic lights are gone. The parking is gone. You can't drive on these roads. They're all broken up rubble, pieces of concrete and stuff. The bombed out buildings have collapsed in the street with all the shards of concrete and everything else, right? The water is gone. water system, the electric system. They can't get gas easily. It's a mess. The hospitals are blown up. The internet's off and on. They get internet from Egypt. And people are living in tents. They're getting handouts from the nations because they don't want them to suffer. Why are they doing humanitarian aid? Because they don't want the Gazan people to have to leave. So they force them to stay there. No country takes them in. Biden's taking a pittance in for a show of, how great he is. Nobody wants them. They want them there so they could be human shields for Hamas. And then Hamas can scream genocide. The only way Hamas is going to get a victory out of this thing is through politics. They're still hanging on in Rafah. We control 75% of it, so a matter of days we'll control all of it. They're hanging on because Satan bots like Biden and other countries are trying to help them. So before there's any release of hostages or any revelation as to how many hostages they have, what their names are, and what kind of condition they're in, and proof of life, they want Israel to completely move all the troops out of Gaza and agree in a binding way to a permanent ceasefire. Okay? That leaves Hamas in control to continue attacking us, continue smuggling weapons and tunnel-making supplies and equipment from Egypt. The nations will dump billions of dollars into Gaza to rebuild it. Hamas will siphon off at least 25, 33% of that. So they'll have a massive budget. They'll be able to keep sending their children, the leaders could send their children to nice places in Europe to go to private schools and rent a villa and have a Ferrari. That goes on, you know. The leaders of Hamas are richer than Trump. They're billionaires. So now let's say Israel complies. They left. We moved out. Okay. Give us the hostages. No. We want you to release the terrorists in the jail, and your jails in Israel, at the rate of 100 terrorists for every hostage, or 200 or 300. The idea would be to drain the Israeli prison of the terrorist prisoners, get them all out of there, and then send them to Gaza. Okay? So they could be brought back into the fight and take up the loss of the troops that Hamas had. The hostages are still not released. So Hamas could say, we got 60 hostages, we want 100 100 prisoners released for East hostage, which drains the prisons out, and then they turn over 45 dead bodies of hostages and 15 living hostages, something like that. I said, well, the dead body is still a hostage. What are you complaining about? You got it? This is the game that they want to play. Now, Biden and the UN have been rather insistent that they want the hostages returned. They're not really talking about some of the hostages, they want all the hostages. Now, Biden and Blinken's latest idiot plan has been to negotiate without Israel to get the release of 5 hostages that are dual citizens, Israel and America. That will go nowhere. Hamas will listen to them and ignore them. Okay, now Blinken, who used to work under Obama's presidency, came to visit in Israel and went to see Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah. This is the guy who runs the slave for pay program. If a terrorist gets killed trying to kill an Israeli baby or woman or soldier, he supports the family for the rest of their life to the tune of about $3,200 a month, which is for you in America like making $10,000 or $12,000 a month. And this definitely encouraged terrorism. The young kids go and do it, and they think they're going to be a martyr, get their 70 or 71 virgins, whatever they escalated it up to, and then their family will be well taken care of. In the event that the terrorist goes to jail, Mahmoud Abbas pays the family that same amount of money every month he's in jail. Okay? Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Austin, and Biden are completely comfortable with Mahmoud Abbas doing that. And they're so in favor of that, when Blinken was here the other day, he gave Mahmoud Abbas $400 million. So Joe Biden, the seated president of the United States, is supporting the slave for pay program. Now tell me America's not the daughter of Babylon. Tell me America's not going to be destroyed as the daughter of Babylon. You could also tell me the American public doesn't know what I just told you, because they don't. Well, they know Blinken handed over, $400 million, but they don't understand. A few months ago, he came over there and gave him $50 million. Yep. They want this guy, Mr. Slave for Pay, Murder Incorporated, to run Gaza. This is unbelievable, isn't it? And the Israeli public knows these things, but they still feel good when Netanyahu buys F-35s from America, gets munitions and weapons from them and stuff like that. In this age, Satan runs all the nations of the world. Okay? And all the leaders, the big politicians, the heads of industries and companies, political figures on lesser levels like mayors, police chiefs, and stuff, they're all Satan bots and have been for many, 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 many years. The royal families are Satan bots. The elected officials, the appointed officials, the dictators, they're all Satan. If they weren't Satan bots, they'd be attacked by the other countries and overthrown rapidly. You can go right back to Ben Franklin and George Washington, the two Masons, and it's been like that in America. And all the countries. So Biden has a massive headache with the Houthis. They're showing the world that America is no longer what they used to be. And they're attacking military ships with success of America and other countries. They're attacking merchant marine vessels with success. They're on their way to completely controlling the Red Sea and the Sea of Aden underneath it. A lot of the merchant marine vessels will not go through the Red Sea anymore. They go around the bottom of Africa, which adds 10 or 15 days, something like that, to the trip. And increases expense, fuel consumption, salaries for the crew, wear and tear on the ship, and all that. Biden will not take serious, decisive action against Yemen. Satan probably doesn't want him to, because they're doing all they can to make life uncomfortable for Israel. Satan wants to see a Islamic Jerusalem and Israel, because then he's pretty secure he's okay. Now, at this point, Biden got nothing with Hamas. If Biden goes to the Security Council and says, I want to have an enforcement action now to force Israel and Hamas into a ceasefire with UN troops in Gaza, I think you'll have at least 3 or 4 vetoes in the Security Council. Russia, China, I think Algeria's in there, and others, they won't go for it. They're not going to impose their will on Satan's chosen people. Satan is their guy. There's nobody on the UN Security Council that's not an expire. Come on. So Biden doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to figure out what to do, because the Houthis, he believes incorrectly, will stop attacking ships if there's a ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon too. One of the reasons he's encouraging Israel not to go in and stop the missiles from Lebanon is he wants Israel to suffer, so they swing over more and more to the side of doing something stupid with a ceasefire, like letting Hamas stay in control. In as little as 2 weeks after we withdraw, I believe Hamas would start shooting missiles at us again. Okay, maybe sooner even. Many Israelis are aware of this. precious few Israelis are aware of the extent of Netanyahu's deception and lies. Some are, not too many. Gantz is not his solution. He's just one schmuck to another. You go from one jackass to another one. It doesn't prove anything. So, well, what happens to Israel is they get stuck here in the current situation. Missiles coming in very occasionally from Hamas, very frequently from Hezbollah, very infrequently from Iraq and Syria, nothing from Jordan, nothing from Egypt. At the present time, that will change. And Israelis are fairly miserable. The war tactics of the Netanyahu regime are complete imbecilic, idiotic. They attack the leaders of the enemy, Hamas, Hezbollah. They get quite a few of them. Has it ever done any good? No. It is a complete waste of time and energy. It doesn't accomplish anything. If it worked, we wouldn't be on day 249 of the Hamas war. Another jerk just steps in. It doesn't do any good. It's a stupid tactic, yet I think many Israelis believe it's effective. Also, bombing buildings and structures doesn't do any good. We've been doing that all along, and they're still fighting. What does do good is a body count. But then the UN starts screaming genocide. So Netanyahu keeps us in attack methods like with Lebanon that are highly ineffective. They missile attack us, so then we missile attack another target in Lebanon. So what? He's been doing that for months. Netanyahu, did it do any good? No. The war's escalating. It didn't do any good. Why don't the people in Israel stand up and say, change your tactics, you moron? Because they don't know any better. More missiles and rockets coming right now. Why does Netanyahu spend $100 million plus on F-35s if he doesn't use them correctly? You see, Israel can't win with the nations, especially the daughter of Babylon. They're not going to get the land back until God helps them. Okay? The nations aren't going to stop because they don't fear God. Man, we're taking a lot of, I better go take a look where these missiles are coming in. See, we just had it 30, 40 minutes ago. They're keeping it up. Hezbollah and Lebanon may be trying to go to non-stop missile attacks, which is a tactic of Hamas. When they were in one piece, Hamas is not in one piece. Here we go. Let's see what's going on. It's coming in my general region. Oh, that was earlier. No, this is old. They're not updating. What's going on? I don't see it updating. I'm getting the missiles from 20. Oh, no, it's updating correctly. Okay, I got it. They're hitting the borderline with Lebanon. Mount Meron, Upper Galilee, Upper Galilee. See, it's still continuing. They're just pouring it on. Netanyahu is a living, breathing, walking piece of refuse. You don't know what he's really doing. Is he letting this happen to Israel? Is he trying to stop it? What is he doing? You don't even know. He's so bad. And they voted him in. They brought it on themselves. It's very dangerous to live in a country that goes against God. And the country happens to be Israel. Netanyahu is a treacherous curse on Israel. See, it's still keeping up. You know, it's every few minutes. So apparently Lebanon wants to provoke a greater conflict. Now Netanyahu calls up Biden and says, hey, I got to attack Lebanon. They're not letting up, you know. You know, what's Biden to say? Shut up, Benji, I'll tell you when you could attack Lebanon, you know? See? We're a bunch of Jews. What do they care if we get missile attacks? They really don't care. They don't care. You got to get that down. Oh my God. Put someplace in Telegram. I don't know where I am. Get out of this. Yeah. It just keeps coming in. Let me tell you some of the things that the Israeli military can do that they won't do. Just later today, go bomb all the electrical plants in Lebanon. Do you think that will screw their missile launching up? Sure they will. Big time. Blow up their reserves of gasoline. Cripple the country. That's the only thing to do. You don't take a posture. It's okay for Israelis to get killed and their houses destroyed and everything else because this moron Lebanese government doesn't want to stand up against Hamas. The heck with them. That's the standard Hamas cover story, you know? Or a Hezbollah cover story. Well, they're too powerful. We can't do anything about it. Yeah, so that brings us back to, shut up, you dumb Jews. Take the missiles. You're Jews. Shut up. Be glad you're not being put in an oven alive. I see all the time, we eliminated this leader of Hezbollah and this leader of Hamas and this and that. It's still going on, the missile attack. See, this is the second one in an hour. This is reminiscent of October 7th. I would call the Lebanese army up and say, listen, you got 12 hours to shut Hamas down, Hezbollah down, or we're coming in and we're going to shut them down and we're going to blow your electricity, your gas lines, your oil lines, everything that provides essential services, internet, telephones, everything, to shut them down. And don't go crying because you let it happen. And they'll say, well, we're going to go to the UN. See, and that's the yoke on Israel. And then Israel will scream genocide on Israel because they'll say, well, the Lebanese government wasn't attacking you, it was Hezbollah, which is the stupidest argument you could ever imagine. You know, you're again, you take it out, you could hear it. It just keeps going. I used to say things like, oh, this is going to force Netanyahu to attack. But I know better. You can't, Netanyahu doesn't do what's good for Israel. You got to understand that. Neither does all his cabinet and advisors. They don't do what's good for Israel. That's why they're always into secrecy and stuff, you know. So maybe we started our counterattacks. Nope, there it goes again. It's really hard to live with, you know, saith about governments, and they're all that way. So wherever you are in the world, you're not escaping it. Not yet. So let me show you why I think we're going into the phase where Israel's starting to get scared. You could see what's going on here with Lebanon, okay? Israel's getting scared. They're never going to get a real deliverance or a victory through their government. It's going to have to come through Jehovah. Their government is Satan bots. God's not going to deliver Israel through people serving the unclean spirits. That's absurd. Most people in the world wouldn't understand what I just said, but those of you who've been with me a while would understand what I just said. So, if you want the updates as the eggs start hitting the fan in Israel, make sure you subscribe, because I'm in the habit of doing live streams day and night when things get pretty hairy. So make sure you subscribe, and please give the thumbs up like thing, a thumbs up hit for me. It helps with the algorithm. So let's go to Jeremiah 30. And this takes us through the birth pangs, the birth of the nation in a day, Jacob's trouble. It's a great chapter that the church tends to not talk about much at all. The word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah, saying, Thus speaketh Jehovah Elohim of Israel. He never calls himself Jehovah Elohim Church, always Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. The word is a safer. It could be a scroll as well as a book, I would think. For lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith Jehovah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. Okay? Not yet fulfilled. We don't have all the land. It goes up 150 or so miles into Lebanon. It would include Gaza, Jordan, possibly a part of northwest Saudi Arabia. This is so we don't have the land yet. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus, and the captivity is the end of the dispersion, the next great Exodus. You can't say it's the second Exodus, because you had an Exodus out of Egypt, you had another one out of Babylon. And then in 1917 with the Balfour Declaration you had one, and then in 1948 you had one, and little ones after that, and in 1990 to 91, you had a huge one with 1,000,000 Russians coming into Israel that were Jews. Verse 5. Well, 4. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not peace. So you got trembling. Okay, fear and trembling. There's none of this crap in this time, day and age of the man of peace coming and breaking the covenant in the middle of 7 years. That's down the road, the great falling away, Gog and Magog. You're probably 60-something years away from that. This is today. Jacob's trouble is Zechariah 12. That's today. Great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So the Israelites, as they get into the end of it, they're going to be trembling with fear. Is this where we are now? Well, we're getting there very rapidly. Biden ain't doing nothing to stop the attacks on Israel. Neither is any other country. The only thing they're trying to do is stop the attacks on their shipping in the Red Sea with the Houthis. There's a number of things Netanyahu could do that would be right. For instance, take 5 or 6 F-16s, go back into Iran, and stop wasting your time and energy with these nuclear facilities over there. Get all their oil refineries and their natural gas pipelines and oil pipelines, and get the piers where they load the ships up with the gas and oil. Just blow them into smithereens. Then tell Iran, we're going to come back and get other targets if you don't tell the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah to shut down this afternoon. We'll be back tonight and the next night and the next night. We're going to blow your houses up, your families, your military bases, your trains, your tunnels, your bridges, your ports, your airports, your electrical system, and we're just going to keep pounding you until you fall apart and crumble and get taken over by revolutionaries. That would work. Satan will not allow Israel to do that, nor Biden. The Muslims are his favorite children right now. Satan's, not God's. Okay? They're not doing anything sensible here, the Israeli military. Why attack Hezbollah? Attack Iran. Oh, Iran's going to come down here and attack us if we do that. I don't think they will, number one. Number two, it's a stupid approach to say, oh, gee, we're not going to attack Iran. We're just going to let their proxies keep trying to kill us all. If they got control of us, they would burn us alive, which is what they were doing on October 7th, okay? After the raping and all that, then they burn us alive. That's it, you know? And the nations don't care. They don't care. Are there people out there that do care? Yeah, but not the governments. What government cares? Not a single one. What church denomination ever stepped forward since October 7th and said, we stand with Israel? Not a single one. 3,500 denominations in the world, not one. What does that tell you? It tells you they're demonic. What do you think it tells you? So, let's continue. Trembling of fear and not of peace. There's no peace treaty with Gaza or Lebanon or Houthis or anybody, all right? Not of peace, being fulfilled, not of peace. Ask you now and see, now they realize there's no real chance of a Gaza ceasefire treaty, so the fear is going to keep setting in. And let's say they shut down Hamas, so what? You know, we're still going to be getting it. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Now this is the fear. The travail is a bad English word to use today. It means the actual birth process. Like what? The water broke, the cervix is dilated, the baby's head is crowning. The actual minutes of giving birth, or it could be an hour or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, okay? That's what this is talking about, okay? And they're clutching their guts, it's kind of a mocking thing, imitating the woman in birth pangs at the actual point of the labor, not in the 6th month or something. Right at the due date, after the water broke, and the baby's coming and she's experiencing the labor. And it says, do I see, and those words really mean see, it doesn't say do I, it says see, and then it says every, which is not correct, it's all. So it's saying all, and then the word for man is geber, yeah, good enough. With his hands on his loins. The loins are I guess the guts. That's supposedly the seat or the source of the man's virility. As a woman in travail, they're clutching themselves like a woman does when she's giving birth, at the time of giving birth. And all faces are turned into paleness. All the blood would be rushing down into the guts, and the face would look chalky gray, I guess. All right? God scares them so bad they clutch their guts. That's where we're headed. Now we're in Jeremiah 30, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Now that doesn't sound like Gog and Magog to me. Saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. There's 2 yokes on Israel. The first yoke is that of the government, which holds our nose to the grindstone. And the other yoke is that of the nations like America, the UN, Germany, France, and this type of thing, the UK. They shall no more serve themselves of him. So they're not going to be able to take advantage of Israel to make money and stuff. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Now when it says the king, that's Yeshua, who came from the line of David. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, that's from the many nations, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee. And what's the word for save? Yasha, which is the root of Yeshua's name. It's more like I will salvation you from afar. That's the nations in the captivity. And thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Yaakov shall return. Those are the tribes coming back to Israel. They shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make them afraid. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have though I make a full end of all nations. Now this is going to happen, that he sent us into in the captivity. Now why? Why? I'll show you. He explains it in Zechariah 1, around 15, verse 15. I missed it a little bit. Let's see. We're going to go to Zechariah 1. Verse 12, Zechariah 1:12. Then the angel of Jehovah answered and said, O Lord, it's really saying Jehovah of armies, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation? That's a past tense. These 70 years, these 70 years, well, they're recently out of Babylon. Maybe they're 16, 17, 18 years out of Babylon now. So he's saying, when are you going to have mercy on the land? You know, against which you had this anger for the 70 years that they were in Babylon. Basically, that's what that's saying. And Jehovah answered now the reason I believe that was happening is Zerubbabel never finished the temple, so they couldn't get the blessings of the law to come on Israel. So he was encouraging them at this point. There was a 14-year gap in the construction of the temple that Zerubbabel was conducting, because the enemy was harassing them so badly they couldn't get it built. And Jehovah answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith Jehovah of armies, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased. And they helped forward the affliction. So, this is why he's having a controversy with the nations over this period of time, which is going back to the Babylonian captivity. He was punishing Israel for their rebellion, and the nations came down on them harder. Now let's apply this to Hosea 6, 1 and 2, where he tells us there's a 2,000-year punishment on Israel. A double portion of punishment, a double punishment. 1,000 years would be one. This is 2,000. Time's up on this, but what happened is that was for punishment. So during this period, he said that he would turn them over to their enemies. But the enemies of Israel took it further than God anticipated or wanted them to. This put God in a bad situation because he couldn't reverse on the prophecies he gave. He had to let it go through. That's why the dry bones come out of the pit, which is Israel. It says they're resurrected from the dead. They got flesh and skin and cartilage and all that, and they go to Israel. So they're not spirits. Okay, it's not going up to the third heaven. They go to Israel. They're resurrected from the dead. Like Lazarus come out, something like that. Only a lot at the same time, and they go to Israel. Okay? That's one aspect, all right? The other things they did was like, World War II with Hitler and Stalin killing Jews by the millions. And, many things like that. He didn't want them to do that, but they just went that far. Okay? Out of Satan driving them and out of them having hate for the enemies of the unclean spirits, which is Israel. I was but a little displeased. Let's break this down in Hebrew so you understand what's really going on. And I, it doesn't say that, it says I, ani. And it says, am very, well, yeah, it says gadol, which is big or great. So it's saying I, great, and then it says sore displeased. Katsef. This is not a correct interpretation of the word. Bursting out in rage, that would be the good translation according to Strong's. Sore displeased, bursting out in rage. More missiles from Hezbollah right now. Bursting out in rage, the goyim, the heathen, and it says that are at ease. Yeah, you could say ease. The heathen at ease, I guess, in English. For I was but a little displeased, and displeased word is 7107 Katsav. I was but a little bit angry or displeased. And they helped. Let's look at the word help. 5826. Atsar. Surround or aid. So let's work this through now. I was, and then it says a little, little, it means little. I was little, and then it's the same word, in a rage. I was just like a little in a rage. And they, the heathen, helped, let's look at that word, 58:26. It could be helped forward the affliction. Well, they're adding words in. So he's saying, I was a little angry at them, and the heathen forwarded the affliction. In other words, they increased the punishment beyond what he wanted it to be. They just went too far. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be, okay, so the mercies, he gives us a double reward because of what happened to us. He didn't originally intend for it to go like that. I think it was probably more like the nations would say, oh, you got Jehovah mad at you, come stay here, and you could work here and live here. And, it'll eventually lift the punishment. And, instead, they made them into slaves, killed them, robbed them, threw them out of their country, every sick thing they could do. So I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. Now this is in the form of the glory of God of Israel, which is that angel Michael that he put his name in, who was with the children of Israel in the wilderness. This is who's coming to Jerusalem. My house shall be built in it. It doesn't say built per se, established. He puts the next temple here. Saith Jehovah of hosts. And a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, thus saith Jehovah of armies. My cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad. We're going to all be very rich. And the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. It still hasn't yet happened, but it's very, very close. Then lifted I up my eyes, and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah. Horns generally represent a kingdom or a country, okay? So who scattered Judah? Well, like every country, just about, not all, but just about. It scattered Judah and Israel and Jerusalem. Jerusalem's not a country, but it's listed here separate. And Jehovah showed me 4 workmen or carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the goyim, of the heathen, which lifted up their hand over the land of Judah, to scatter it. Now you have to understand, these 4 workmen are coming here to terrify the horns that scattered Judah, not the 10 tribes. He's focusing on the land now. So I would say he's focusing on 1948 and future to 1948. Or maybe he's just going back to 70 AD, I'm not sure. But he's going after the countries that scattered the land of Judah. Now, I don't know who the 4 workmen are. I could guess if I would guess, I would say Apostle John, Elijah, the anointed prince in the next temple, and then we have to find the number 4. Don't know. This is not found in other places in the Bible. We don't know who they are. They could be nations, but workmen is not a way of portraying a nation, so it's individuals. The glory God of Israel could be one of them. I don't know. I would say the 2 witnesses would probably be 2 of them. The glory God of Israel doesn't make sense portraying him as a workman. I don't have all this down. You could say the glory God of Israel and the anointed prince and go that way, but I'm not so sure it's right. The nations, what's left of them, are going to be terrified. See, these nations went satanic and they built their countries up, their capital cities, their bridges, their towers, their trains, their airports, their electricity, their this, their that, the subways, the buses, the ferry boats. Oh, look at this great stuff we built. Well, he burns it all up, destroys it, because it's built on Satan. And the people are going to go into captivity. It says that, the nations, because of what they did to Israel, sending Israel into captivity. What is a controversy with the heathen over Zion? And the Lord's going to win. They're not going to win. This is not taught. Jacob's trouble is Zechariah 12. Not Gog and Magog. All they talk about is Gog and Magog. They don't talk about Zechariah 12 because you see the 2 witnesses burning up the enemies that are surrounding Judah and Jerusalem, and there's a victory. And the glory of God of Israel is in Malachi 3 and 4, and Satan hates the 2 witnesses and the glory of God of Israel, and tries as hard as he can to conceal it in the scriptures. You're going to see those that were laughing while we're crying, they'll be crying. But they'll be crying for billions and billions and billions of years. And we'll be smiling and laughing and having a good time for billions and billions and billions and billions of years. Okay? So this is very important. Okay, we've got a prayer request. This I believe we prayed for before, but need more prayer, I suppose, for W.E. White Echo, W.E. White Echo, W.E. Pray for healing for the back. Healing for the back for W.E. Apparently this person had to go into the hospital. So, we don't, we'll just pray for him to be healed. I think it's a him in the back, W.E. So this Jeremiah 30 is very important. and it's Zechariah 12. And if you want to understand that a little bit further, you just go into Jeremiah 31, which is, the chapter numbers and the verse numbers are artificial. They were put in there by the publishing houses just several hundred years ago. They're certainly not in the original manuscripts by any way, shape, or form. So we go into Jeremiah 31:1. At the same time, saith Jehovah, will I be the God of the families of Israel. Mishpucha, it should be. Let's see if that's the right word. Mishpucha. Yeah, families, Mishpucha. I be the God of all the families, Yisrael, Mishpucha, Yisrael, and they shall be my people. Thus saith, well, when does that happen? What happens at the end of Zechariah 12? Thus saith Jehovah, the people which are left of the sword found grace in the wilderness, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. Okay, the left in the sword seems to be taken from Jeremiah 50:51 with the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. The people that were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness. When they go out of the second Exodus, the next Exodus, they stop in the wilderness, pass under the rod, enter into the bond of the covenant, and then come into Israel. I don't believe it's anything like 40 years. Maybe it's more like 40 days or something. I don't know how long, but I don't think it's very long. When I went to cause them to rest, Jehovah hath appeared of old unto me, saying, Yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. That means he still loves us, but he chastens those he loves, and we got chastened 2,000 years worth because we killed his son, our Messiah. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. He's got great love for you. He draws you back to him. During these 2,000 years of punishment, he's been staying away from the vast majority of the people. He has a small remnant he revealed himself to, very small. Again, I will build thee, and thou shalt be built, O Virgin of Israel. Thou shalt again be adorned with the tabrets, and shall go forth in the dances of them that make merry. Thou shalt yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant and shall eat them as common things. For there shall be a day that the watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, Arise, ye, and let us go up to Zion unto Jehovah Elohim, for the temple. For thus saith Jehovah, Sing with gladness for Yaakov, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish you, praise you, and say, O Jehovah, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. You see, this is following Jeremiah 30, which is the birth pangs and the birth of a nation in a day. Zechariah 12, the siege is Jacob's trouble. Zechariah 12, verse 10 specifically, is the birth of a nation in a day when they look upon the one whom they have pierced. And before that, the Spirit is poured out on them. So when the Spirit's poured out on them in the early portion of Zechariah 12:10, they become believers. And then they look on the one whom they have pierced, which is Yeshua. And John 6:40 says, Those that believe and look upon him shall have everlasting life, which is not that you can't die, but you live a very, very long time. My people's days shall be like that of a tree. Another place a child shall die at 100 years old. Okay, so praise you and say, O Jehovah, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. So this is right after Zechariah 12. It's a very, very good match. I'll keep going. Behold, I will bring them from the north country. Now, that's from somewhere in the north. Lebanon's to the north. Turkey's to the north. Other countries are to the north. And gather them from the coasts of the land. It could mean the earth here. And with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child. Together a great company shall return thither. So they're coming from all over the place, okay? They shall come with weeping and with supplications. That's because they're going to be mourning when they see the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, Yeshua in the clouds. They're going to realize, oh my gosh, this is our Messiah. This is the one we blasphemed all the days. This is the one we mocked. We called him a witch, a bastard, not a prophet, blah, blah, blah. And he's actually our Messiah. Oh, the Son of God. Ay, 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 what did we do? And her that travaileth with child, the pregnant one, together a great company shall return thither. They shall come with weeping and with supplications. Will I lead them? I will cause them to walk by rivers of water in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel. So the blind's not stumbling. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? Everlasting life. And the old and the feeble not stumbling, everlasting life. And Ephraim, the 10 tribes, is my firstborn. So that would mean he gets a double portion if you want to take that further. Hear the word of Jehovah, O you heathen, and declare, it's goyim, heathen, and declare. You see, the church took the word they made up a word called Gentiles. And then they start saying the church is the Gentiles, but the word means the heathen. So for the church to be the Gentiles, they'd have to be the goyim, which are the heathen, and they are, but they don't admit it, but they are. Ironic, isn't it? And declare it in the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him, and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock. For Jehovah hath redeemed, that's year of redemption, Jacob, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of Jehovah. Sing in the height of Zion and flow together to the goodness of Jehovah. For wheat and for wine and for oil and for the young of the flock and of the herd, and their soul shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all. This is going to happen very shortly, days, a few weeks. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together. Now, the old are dancing. They could have 88 years on them, but they get this everlasting life. They're not going to be no longer 88 years old. They're still going to be 88 years old, but they're going to look something like 21, 23, or something like that, okay? The old together, I will turn their mourning into joy and will comfort them. And when God comforts you, what's that word? 51:62. Who's pulling my cable? Oh, I was. Okay. To console, to comfort. Yeah, it's, when God comforts you, you're comforted. You be comforted. And make them rejoice from their sorrows. The sorrows are, having not come to Jehovah sooner, rejecting Yeshua, mocking him, who just saved them, who just gave them, everlasting life. But he heals them today. He doesn't want to sit there going in the morning, for a long time. And I will satiate the soul of the priest. Go, Kohanim, go! Just kidding. With fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, saith Jehovah. My goodness. Let's see what that, goodness, with good, satisfied with my good. I would say good. Thus saith Jehovah, a voice was heard in Ramah, uh, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel, it's not Rahel, or is it? No, I was right. Rachel. In English, you have Rachel, Rochelle. You don't really have Rachel, but the Hebrew is Rachel. Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not. Thus saith Jehovah, refrain thy voice from weeping and thine eyes from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded, saith Jehovah, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. Now let's check that word enemy. Oyev. Let's see how Strong's puts it into English. Yeah, enemy is pretty good. It really means hating. Return, hating land, enemy. Yeah, it's okay to translation. And there is hope in thy end, saith Jehovah, that thy children shall come again to their own border. I have surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself. Thus thou hast chastised me, and I was chastised as a bullock, unaccustomed to the yoke. Turn thou me, and I shall be turned, for thou art Jehovah Elohim. The turning them, what is that? That's putting the law in their inward part, giving them a heart of flesh, giving them the mind of Christ, giving them this eternal long life where they serve God. That's what this is. Foreign to church doctrine, I think. Verse 19, Jeremiah 31. Surely after that I was turned. I repented. And after that I was instructed. I smote upon my thigh, I was ashamed, yea, even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, saith Jehovah. It says in his guts he's troubled for what he did, the way he punished them. I don't think it was in his plan for the heathen to go after the Israelites the way they did. He said they forwarded the affliction. I didn't think they were going to do that. Maybe he thought, I don't know. But anyway, now we get a double portion. We get mercy. He makes it up to us. That's obvious. I mean, set thee up way markers, make thee high heaps, set thy heart towards the highway. Even the way which thou wentest, turn again, O Virgin of Israel. They've got this new everlasting life. They've never worshipped unclean spirits in this new everlasting life. So they're virgins, a new creation in Yeshua HaMashiach, where it says Christ Jesus. But it manifests here in the flesh and the spirit. You're a new creation in what they call Christ Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach. But it does not yet appear that you are the Son of God. But this will change. Here they will. It says, arise, shine, your light has come. They'll emanate forth light like Moses did when he was on Mount Sinai with the glory of God of Israel, with the Ten Commandments and all that. Turn again, O Virgin of Israel, turn again to these thy cities. Come back to your cities. How long wilt thou go about, O backsliding daughter? For Jehovah hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. There's going to be a man shortage, and the women are going to run around surrounding guys and try to get married, and there'll be polygamy. Which is not prohibited, think Solomon, David. It's not prohibited. Adultery is laying up with someone else's spouse. Fornication is doing the sex outside the marriage. Okay? Lascivious is like outside of marriage, petting and stuff like that. It says the marriage bed is sacred or holy, so what goes on in the marriage bed is all right. The marriage bed means two people that are married. Do you have to go down to City Hall and file and get a wedding certificate from the government or something like that? But let me answer that question this way, very shortly. Everybody's driver's license, passport, national identity card, and all that stuff is going to be a joke. They'll all be gone. That's just Satan's way of controlling the people and making life uncomfortable for them. That's all. That's it. It's all going to go away. You think we're going to have passports? And one of the apostles went to Samaria or someplace like that, and while he was crossing the border, they asked him to display his passport. Yeah, come on, you know. Even during World War II, few people had passports. It's a computer age piece of crap invention they came up with, okay? To control the people, that's all it is. What they usually would do is they'd go to the border and they'd make a declaration. I'm from this country, I'm here for this purpose, I have so much money on me, and, you know, that I have 1,100 pairs of sneakers I'm going to sell, or whatever you're up to, you know, that's usually what it is. Created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, Elohim Israel. He's the God of Israel. As yet they shall use this speech in the land of Judah and in the cities thereof, when I shall bring again their captivity. Jehovah bless thee, O habitation of justice and mountain of holiness. That's Mount Zion. Now, use again, this speech is biblical Hebrew, the old Hebrew. They don't use that now. Normal Israelites don't know how to read it. More missiles from Lebanon. See, they want a war. And there shall dwell in Judah itself, and in all the cities thereof together, husbandmen and they that go forth with flocks. Husbandmen are taking care of, what do you call it, agricultural food animals. For I have satiated the weary soul, fulfilled or filled up the weary soul, and I have replenished every sorrowful soul. In other words, you're not going to be sorrowful. Upon this I awakened and beheld that my sleep was sweet unto me. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man. That means you're going to get married, reproduce, and lots of children. And with the seed of beasts, that means they'll reproduce. You see, that's a way of getting wealth. You have, 4 goats, 2 boys and 2 girls, and then a few months later you got 8 or 10, and then, in 2 years you got 39, and, there you go. And more missiles from Lebanon. See, this is becoming untenable in Israel. And it shall come to pass that, like as I have watched over them, to pluck up and to break down, and to throw down, another missile. Another one. See what's going on here? To break down and to throw down and to destroy. That's what he was doing for the 2,000 years. And to afflict, so will I watch over them, to build and to plant, saith Jehovah. There's another one. In those days thou shalt say no more, the fathers have eaten the sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But everyone shall die for his own lawlessness. Every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. So we're not going to suffer for some of the people sinning anymore, which explains Ezekiel 8 to 11, where we read about Gog and Magog in a different perspective. And we see there's a mark placed on the forehead of those in Jerusalem that were upset of all the grievances. With all the grievances there regarding what they're doing in the temple, and they get a mark on their forehead and nothing bad happens to them, but the rest of them get it. It's just not like what happened in the past where they all went into captivity. It changes. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Well, it's not the church. Don't buy into that. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith Jehovah, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts. Well, obviously the church this doesn't apply to the church, because they teach the law is dead and done away with. In spite of Yeshua saying, don't think I came to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. For as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the Lord. That's like Matthew 5, 17, 18, 19. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts. So obviously it's not the church. It didn't happen yet. And will be their God, and they will be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Jehovah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith Jehovah, for I will forgive their lawlessness and I will remember their sins no more. Their sins are gone. And that's why the healing that Yeshua did when he got crucified can kick into place now. The 2,000-year punishment is over. If he didn't do it that way, then there never would have been a 2,000-year punishment. Thus saith Jehovah, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Jehovah of armies is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith Jehovah, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith Jehovah, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundation of the earth searched beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Jehovah. You see, some people are aware of this, but they're just aware of it. That's all there is. Behold, the day comes, saith Jehovah, that the city shall be built to the Lord from the tower of Hananel unto the gate of the corner. Well, they haven't built any cities to the Lord in quite a while, you know. And the measuring line shall yet go forth over against it upon the hill of Gareb, and shall compass about to Goat. And the whole valley of the dead bodies, that's from the sacrifices and offerings, and of the ashes, and all the fields unto the brook of Kidron, unto the corner of the horse gate towards the east shall be holy unto Jehovah. It shall not be plucked up nor thrown down anymore forever. So this is really designed to show you why he's punishing the nations so severely. It's what they did to us. And he couldn't do anything about it until we got to the present, we're in the year of recompenses. Now, I believe he's waiting towards the end of the year so that we don't Okay, let's see if we got any questions in the chat. So you also need to, stay in touch with the fact that God's going to deliver you from the wrath to come. And he knows exactly what he's doing. He's watching all the details of everything very carefully, including his children and their lives very carefully. And you're not going to get hurt. Australia, that's great. Oh, Hag Sameach. Well, that's a rabbinical dated holiday. It's not on the regular biblical calendar. It's the rabbis confusing things. But it's a good thought. Thank you. Something was wrong with Camara. Oh no. All right, so the nations will get destroyed, they'll get burned up, the bad ones in Israel and all this stuff, but all these horrible things, the daughter of Babel are going to happen, but you're going to be protected, delivered, and it's not going to be a rapture, the truth teaches. And you'll be safe, and you'll come to Israel. You'll get the eternal life, the everlasting life, when Yeshua appears in the sky. And you'll see him as a believer, and you'll come to Israel, the tribes of Israel, who will also receive this. You all come. There'll be a stop in the wilderness to pass under the rod and enter the bond of the covenant, and you'll come into Israel. And the bad ones in Israel will be cut off. And after Zechariah 12 is over, I believe that's when the world will beat the swords into plowshares and the spears into pruning hooks to get the fruit off the trees and probably knock the olives off as well. So everything's going to be good. You're not going to suffer. It's going to look, not so encouraging, but you got to remember who wins, and he's your heavenly Father, and you'll be fine. He loves you. He's about to show you his great love. And he's going to wreck this whole monstrosity of a world that Satan built up for 2,000 years or more. He's going to destroy the whole thing. And at the end of the testing of the great day of the Lord, we'll have the new heaven and the new earth, and then we'll go to the tribulation, and the nations will be tested, and they'll fall away with the beast and the false prophet and so forth. Many won't. The remnant will be saved at the very end after the two witnesses are raised up. So, if you think you got something to worry about as a believer, you're wrong. You don't. You'll be fine. You'll be just peachy. So I think Israel's going into the fear stage now. I don't know what's going to happen to Lebanon. I know the scriptures, we do attack Lebanon. It says, Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. They're going to get it. Now, we're doing that now, so it might be, and we're causing fires in Lebanon. They say we're using phosphorus and stuff. So it may already be, because Lebanon doesn't get destroyed or devastated. This thing in Lebanon has to stop, and Netanyahu knows it, or he's going to stop. They're going to throw him out of office. He's got to end it. So he's probably nagging Biden, and, you know, Biden can't seem to make anything work. He wants a ceasefire, then he could go tell the Houthis to back down and Lebanon to back down. That's his idea of how to get a ceasefire in Iran. Didn't win. Well, I think that's what I've got for today. Something got to happen in Lebanon. I'll tell you what they want to do is they want to come in with an infiltration and grab hostages and take them back to Lebanon. So when we attack, they can bargain out of it with the hostages. But I don't believe they'll get that. Okay, I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues. They'd be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for our finances and offerings, and pray for better videos. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And let's see. Thanks for the offerings, and I'll keep you updated. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to get the updates when things start to really get real, the eggs hitting the fan, because I do emergency live streams during the night and the day, and, you know, with regularity, as long as there's still an internet, which may not be for very long. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe that there is. I don't know. But you know, you'd probably want to be subscribed, and please hit the like button if you like the video. It helps me with the algorithm with YouTube, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua. I'm Mashiach, and I am out.